Hey guys, welcome to TST Garage. I'm Bart, and today in this video, I'll be showing you how to install the TST Industries Brake Light Modulator on your bike. Now, a brake light modulator, sometimes called a strobe, sometimes called a brake light flasher, what it does is basically enables you to install some electronics on your bike so that when you press your brakes, the brake light flashes in some kind of pattern and alerts the drivers behind you that you will be stopping. Our particular brake light modulator comes pre-wired to a plug that interfaces with a sub harness that we provide specific to your bike model that enables plug-and-play functionality with your bike. So that means that the installation is really fast and you can do it yourself. Now, the electronics inside, we do have the ability for you to program this unit to 3 different functions and then subsequently adjust the rate of the effect to your liking. Our first programmable mode is strobe alert. This mode will produce 9 flashes and then stay solid for the duration of the brake engagement. Second one is intermittent pulsar. Each cycle will flash 10 times and then pause, and then these cycles will repeat for the duration of the brake engagement. The last available option is pulsar, and this one just basically provides continuous flashing for the duration of the brake engagement. Now we'll show you how to install this. It's really simple. And then after the installation chunk, I will show you in detail how to get inside here, how to program the different modes, and how to alter the rate of those different modes. We did think about the safety of such devices during the design phase. So we decided to design this in a way that it will be a pass-through component. In case you experience a failure on board here, it will just pass through your normal brake function, which means you press your brake light lights up, there's just no effect. In case you do experience that failure, we do offer a warranty, so we have guys standing by in our support department that will take your call, email, Facebook message, whatever, and we'll get you replaced. And that's pretty much it. I'm really excited to show you guys just how easy this is to put on and configure. So let's get started.
Now, before we begin this installation process, I do want to mention, I'm going to show you 2 methods in which you can access the main taillight connector that you will need in order to connect our brake light modulator. One of these methods will be very quick. We're going to remove the 3 bolts located on the side panel and then these 2 luggage carrier hooks, and then you should be able to access that connector by flexing this panel upward. However, if you do not feel comfortable doing that, we will be showing you a lengthier process which will involve removing this entire rear and side tail fairing and then gaining access to that connector fully. In order to begin this process, we're going to grab our tool, which should either be a T27 Torx bit or an 8mm socket. We're going to begin by removing these bolts. And next we're going to go ahead and grab our T40 Torx bit and remove these luggage carrier hooks. Now, if you have hands that are small enough, you can actually flex these out of the way and you can see the connectors hanging out right about in this area. You can go ahead and unroute them from the routing clip and connect our brake light modulator. However, for the sake of this video, we are going to take you through the full process, and we will continue this installation by removing this center panel. This is also a T27 or an 8mm socket. Choice is yours. Next, we're going to gently pull on this center panel, which is held in at this point by 2 friction fasteners that push in and pull out, located on the sides here. Next, we do have a small push pin fastener here, located on this front portion of this side panel. We're going to push that in and reset it, removing it and pushing it aside. And we're going to repeat these exact steps on the opposite side. Now with that removed, we're going to grab our key and remove both the seats For the 2 bolts located on the rear of the rider seat, you will need a 4mm T-handle, hex key, or Allen key. Now with the 4mm T-handle or hex key still in your hand, we need to go ahead and remove these 5 bolts, securing the tail fairing to the subframe. It is important to note there are washers located underneath these bolts. There are 2-part washers with an outer plastic washer and then a shouldered washer internally. They're not magnetic, and if they fall into the abyss of this bike, you will have a tough time retrieving them. So please keep that in mind as you remove these bolts. Now, with those bolts removed, we can very gently flex the outer portions of this tail fairing outward and gently lift up and back. That will free the tail fairing from this locking tab that interfaces with this lock on the brace, securing the tail light, and will give you full access to the connectors running down the left side of the bike. Now, with our brake light modulator and matching harness in our hand, we can focus on the connector that will enable this function. We do need to release the main plug, which is this white triangle shaped plug, from its wire routing guide. In order to do so, you're going to gently pry up on this plastic tab, disengaging it and allowing you some extra wiggle room on that wire. Now we need to disconnect the main tail light plug, which is this white one. And in order to do so, you can press down on this tab while pushing outward or pulling, and it will free it from its locking mechanism. Now, with this kit, we do include some zip ties so that you are able to secure the brake light module to surrounding body panels. This bike in particular, however, has a lot of space in this area. So if you didn't want to zip tie it to your subframe, you can actually lift up on this ECU, pulling it out of the way just slightly, and you can actually tuck it behind this brace. Now you can zip tie it there if you'd like. The choice is entirely yours. We always recommend zip tying it for the cleanest installation, but the choice is yours. So now we're going to go ahead and connect the sub harness to the brake light modulator, ensuring we hear a click. That means that the locking tab has engaged. And then we will take one end and connect it to the bike side harness, and the opposite end will be connected to the tail light side of the harness. We will reroute the wires into that plastic wire routing clip. And again, the choice is yours on where you would like to tuck this brake light modulator if you want to zip tie it anywhere. I feel like right here is a really good spot. There's already something zip tied here. We will leave the choice up to you. But in this video, I will be zip tying it there. But just as a quick note, if you do want to adjust our brake light modulator, now would be the perfect time to do so. In order to do that, you would remove these 2 small Phillips head screws, pop the cap off, and then there is a button and a small potentiometer. Now, in order to adjust that, you do need to ensure that the bike is on and you are applying pressure to the brake switches. With every press of the button, you can let go of the brake lever and then press it again to ensure you are in the mode that you'd like and at the speed that you'd like it to be flashing. Continuing on, we designed this with a small channel located towards the cap. You can hook it like so and pull the zip tie through this frame component. Begin feeding it. And voila, just like that, it is now secure. You can cut the excess off and reinstall the ECU. Please make sure if you do remove your ECU, you are remounting it onto these metal tabs that are located here to secure it in place. I'm going to cut off some excess here. And now before we begin the reassembly process, we're going to test our brake light modulator. And just like that, we now have a strobe brake alert on our OEM taillight with a completely plug-and-play installation, clean and out of the way. Now, in order to begin this reassembly process, we are going to do everything we've already done in the reverse order. We will begin by grabbing our tail fairing, placing it over the brace and the subframe and ensuring that this locking tab is engaging correctly. Just like so. Now we're going to go ahead, reset the push pin fastener we did release by pressing in on the inner side and ensuring that the post is sticking out towards you, inserting it back into its captive holding and pressing down. At this point we can reinstall this center panel by pressing down on it. Next, you can reinstall the rear luggage hooks. And lastly, the 3 bolts we removed from the underside of this panel. At this point, you can grab your rider seat and lastly, your passenger seat. And with that, this installation is now complete.
For mode selection and rate adjustment, we will need to get inside this capsule to access the electronics. These 2 Phillips head screws will need to be removed. What I like to do is unscrew them until they disengage from the receiving threads and leave them in the cap. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to lose them. If we pull them off with the cap, they are self-captive. All right, now we'll identify the parts here. This button is the mode selector, and this potentiometer is your rate adjuster. Clockwise is faster, counterclockwise is slower. Let's first do our selection of modes. With the brake pressed, press the button once to toggle to the next available program. Now the brake does have to be pressed so that the unit powers up, otherwise you won't be able to make the selection. If you find that you've pressed the button but the selection has not been changed, just do it again with the brake pressed. So now we will go on to the next program, press the brake once more, press the button once, and now you're in the next mode. Now we've switched twice, so pressing it one more time will return to the original mode that your unit arrived in. Now for rate adjustment, we'll be using the potentiometer. With the brake pressed, we can turn it clockwise to make it go faster, counterclockwise to decrease the rate. Now in brake alert, you will only have 9 flashes to make your adjustment, and then it'll stay solid. This one doesn't actually lend itself to really fast flashing at the top of the range. Bottom of the range is unusable, so I like to set it somewhere towards 3/4 to maybe 80% clockwise, and that does it for me. Now if we change to the next one, this one is pulsar, and this one just keeps on flashing, so I like to have it going pretty fast here. Choice is really up to you. If you want to explore the next mode, we have the intermittent pulsar. This one to me belongs somewhere close to the top of the range, makes it the most visible. But again, freedom means choice. The decision is ultimately up to you. Once you're done with your adjustment and you're where you want to be with all your modes and rates, replace the cap, turn the screws back in, and it really is just that simple. Replace your brake light modulator in the space that you decided to keep it, and you're good to go.